Announcements, none. Papers have been laid. Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Aye. Ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, none. Public bill, first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the appropriation 2022-2023 bill number 9 of 2022 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Public bill, second reading.
No, for two.
Minister, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the appropriation 2022-2023 number 9 of 2022 be read a second time. I come before this August Assembly for the third budget of this mandate. As time goes by, as crises emerge, and as hope blossoms, we are shaping history together. Let us take a moment to reflect on what happened just 2 years back when our lives were shattered. Faced with the abyss of the unknown, we should have sunk. but our people have pulled together, adapting themselves in a spirit of exemplary Mauritian unity. With strength and pride, we showed greatness. By refusing to bow down, Mauritians have stood out in the face of adversity. For this, we would like to say thank you. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your resilience. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have experienced a never-imagined-before contraction in our GDP of 15% in 2020. Yet today, we are in a much better shape. This government, under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, did not hesitate to deploy a historic response of 32% of GDP for the population. As a fair and caring government, our response could only be one of solidarity. It is all about people, and people above all, because solidarity is efficiency. To recall, this government has introduced the wage assistance scheme and the self-employed assistance scheme, which benefited 542,000 workers and self-employed to preserve employment, representing 27.3 billion rupees. Paid the pension at 9,000 rupees to some 302,000 beneficiaries to preserve the purchasing power of the elderly and the vulnerable. Subsidized essential products to the tune of 5.2 billion rupees. Increased the minimum wage from 10,200 rupees to 11,075 rupees. Paid the salary compensation of employees of SMEs. Provided a moratorium on the repayment of capital on loans, and allocated 100 billion of rupees to support businesses. Our response package has enabled us to avoid massive layoff of 100,000 people, economic bankruptcy, and social chaos. We have wisely leveraged on our inherent strength to protect our socio-economic structure and provide the momentum for our recovery. Today, the results are questionable. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to IMF forecast, our GDP will exceed its pre-pandemic level, reaching 520 billion rupees by 2022, compared to 465 billion rupees in 2021. Unemployment is expected to go down to 7.8% from 9.1% a year ago. Exports of goods and services will reach 169 billion rupees from 141 billion rupees in 2021. The investment rate will increase to 21.2% of GDP from 19.2% in 2021. Foreign direct investment will exceed 20 billion rupees from 15.4 billion rupees last year. Tourist arrivals will reach 1 million in 2022 from 179,780 in 2021. Public sector debt will be on a downward trend from 96.1% in June 2021 to 87.4% in June 2022. Government debt will fall from 87.1% in June 2021 to 77.3% in June 2022. These figures prove our economic policies right, and we will continue in this direction. Mr. Speaker, sir, supply chain disruptions The war in Ukraine and the recent lockdowns in China are impacting prices globally. The Bank of Mauritius expects inflation to be at 8.6% in 2022, three-quarters of which are due to our exposure to global shocks. These inflationary pressures require us to act quickly. To handle inflation expectations, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Mauritius has increased the key repo rate cumulatively by 40 basis points since March this year. On our side, we are deploying appropriate and unprecedented policies to support the purchasing power of Mauritians. Thus, this budget is about strengthening our economic growth and resilience to future shocks, accelerating our transition to a sustainable and inclusive development model, and investing in our people. Mr. Sir, Budget 223 is written with the people, for the people. It is only with a stronger economic growth that we will drive our future, with more jobs, higher skill, higher production, greater investment, lower inflation, and lower debt. To this end, Maurice Strategy, an economic research and planning bureau to formulate socio-economic policies, will be set up. Mr. Speaker, sir, COVID-19 and the conflict in Ukraine are powerful reminders that self-sufficiency is vital. No one would have conceived that in the 21st century, the world would be apprehensive of food supply shortages. For us as a nation, producing more is no longer just an option. Today, we rely on imports for more than 75% of our food requirements. It is a market worth 77 billion rupees, representing 8% of GDP. High levels of self-sufficiency not only mean greater food security, but also more investment, more jobs, and higher growth. We incite planters to boost local production of fruits and vegetables by providing a grant of 50%, up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees for the purchase of a sheltered farm for hydroponics, and extending it for the purchase of a second sheltered farm. Increase the subsidy on onion, potato, garlic, and bean seeds sold by the Agricultural Marketing Board from 50% to 75%, and introduce a minimum guaranteed price for planters of 33,000 rupees per ton of onions, 38,000 rupees per ton of potatoes, and 50,000 rupees per ton for beans. We'll further encourage them to bring back abandoned land under cultivation through a crop replantation fund at the DBM at annual preferential of 2.5%. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Development Bank will invest in 2 food security clusters at a cost of 200 million rupees each, namely an agro-processing park over an area of 5,000 meters at Henrietta, and a fruit processing cluster at Rivière-du-Rempart with units of up to 100 square meters for some 50 SMEs. To further support fruit and flower growers, we'll provide a grant of 50%, up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees for the setting up of fruit ripening facilities, and a maximum grant of 100,000 rupees for procurement of planting materials. To accelerate the re-emergence of the tea sector, The winter allowance is being increased from 1 rupee 50 to 2 rupees per kilogram. 6 million rupees is being provided to rehabilitate roads and build appropriate drainage systems in tea plantations at Nouvelle-France, Grand Bois, and Bois Chéri, and 10,000 tea plantlets will be provided at a subsidized cost of 10 rupees per unit. We also have the potential to reduce our dependency on import of honey, which accounts for 90% of our consumption. In this respect, a subsidy of 500 rupees per bee queen will be provided to beekeepers up to a maximum of 10 queens, and a one-off grant of 150,000 rupees per beekeeper will be provided to secure the beekeeping zones. AMB will import beeswax in bulk and resell to beekeepers at an affordable price. The scheme for acquisition of CCTV camera extended to bee honey producers, and new melliferous plants will be introduced to year-round honey production. Mr. Speaker, sir, will support our planters in the face of a surge in prices of fertilizers and seeds. We'll help them transition to locally produced and sustainable inputs. 5 million rupees is being provided to registered planters to cover 50% of their cost of fertilizers. A subsidy of 75% will be provided on the purchase of liquid fertilizers, biofertilizers, and compost produced by cooperatives. Planters and cooperatives will be eligible to a subsidy of 50%, up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees on the purchase of equipment for composting, and a micro-propagation and seed production scheme is being introduced, whereby seed producers will benefit from a grant of 50% of their cost, up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees. We also need to support the transformation of the sector through mechanization, innovation, and sustainability. To finance this agri-transformation program, the Industrial Finance Corporation of Mauritius Limited, IFCM, will offer a preferential lease of 2.5% to cooperatives for the purchase of mini tractors, and leasing facilities of up to 25 million rupees with an annual interest rate of 3.5%. An integrated modern agricultural morcellement scheme on a plot of land exceeding 2 arpents will be introduced to encourage innovative agricultural practices with the following incentives: an 8-year tax holiday on income and an exemption from payment of registration duty. In addition, developers under the scheme will be allowed to convert up to 15% of that land for residential or commercial use and be exempted from payment of land conversion tax. An 8-year income tax holiday will be granted to planters engaged in sustainable agricultural practices registered with the Economic Development Board. Mr. Speaker, in the last budget, several initiatives were announced to support sugarcane planters, including a framework for biomass, to support small sugarcane planters and ensure a fair and equitable distribution of proceeds from sugarcane cultivation. Government will maintain the minimum guaranteed price of 25,000 rupees per ton for planters, ₹25,000 per ton for planters producing up to 60 tons of sugar. Continue to pay the premium to the Sugar Insurance Fund Board in respect of those producing less than 60 tons of sugar and waive cess in respect of crop 2022. To encourage sugar planters to renew some 10,000 hectares of crops, the grant under the cane replantation scheme will be increased by 43%, from 35,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees per arpent. A cane replantation revolving fund will be introduced by the DBM to provide loans at an annual preferential rate of 2.5%. Those who want to bring back abandoned land into cultivation will also be eligible under this scheme. Mr. Speaker, sir, the livestock industry has an important role in our food security strategy for meat and dairy production locally. We'll support our farmers and breeders to produce more across the island. To this end, the DBM will invest 200 million rupees in 5 livestock zones at Henrietta, Salazie, Mar d'Albert, Petit Merlot, and Ex-Tibet Road. We are further increasing the subsidy on animal feed to 10 rupees per kilogram. Cattle breeding scheme is being extended to importers of cattle. A grant of 15,000 rupees will be provided to breeders to purchase calves of less than 1 year. Under the zero budget natural farming scheme, 100,000 rupees will be provided to cooperatives for the purchase of cows and construction of cow sheds, also providing 30% subsidy on the purchase of equipment for production of locally produced pasteurized. For pig breeders, 5 million is provided for the extension of artificial insemination facilities, and 15 million rupees is earmarked for setting up of waste treatment facilities at Bassin-Requin and Saint-Martin. We will introduce a good farming scheme for cooperatives for the purchase of goods and constructions of sheds up to a maximum of 200,000 rupees. Finally, a Salon de l'Agriculture will be organized to promote motion agriculture. Mr. Speaker, sir, 2/3 of our country's fish consumption are today imported. We have the potential to drastically reduce our reliance on imports. For this to happen, we need to optimize on our resources. We are providing 10 million rupees for an additional hatchery at the Albion Fisheries and Research Center to increase the production of fingerlings by 100,000 annually, and 35 million rupees to carry out a stock assessment on the Saya de Malabank to identify small pelagic species for local consumption. To improve the safety of fishes and surveillance in our exclusive economic zone, with the support of the EU, we'll acquire 2,000 handheld VHF radios to be used by seasonal fishers and 2 rapid intervention patrol boats. For safer navigation in lagoons, marker buoys will be installed in some 50 boat passages. The boat passage at Le Monde will be extended, and further dredging will be conducted at Grand River Southeast, Maibo, and Suyak. 7 aggregating devices will be placed around the island. The grant for acquisition of semi-industrial fishing vessels by registered cooperatives is being increased from 4 million rupees to 6 million rupees. These cooperatives will also benefit from leasing facilities offered by the IFCM Limited. 6 barachois will be made available for the production of crabs and shrimps. Furthermore, 4 sites will be allocated for off-lagoon aquaculture, and legislation will be amended accordingly. A new framework, concession framework, will be introduced in the Maritime Zones Act to allow for in-lagoon pearl oyster and algae culture. For small fishers, 500 additional fisherman cards will be issued. 5,000 rupees per fisher will be provided for the purchase of materials to construct fish traps, and financial assistance for the purchase of hooks will be maintained. We are increasing the daily bad weather allowance for fishers from 475 rupees to 575 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, this year we are mobilizing some 3 billion rupees for our farmers, planters, breeders, and fishers to achieve our objectives of food security in the medium term. The manufacturing sector, the largest contributor to GDP, is central in our plan for a stronger and more resilient future. The sector recovery has been one of the fastest, with a growth rate of nearly 11% in 2021, and exports of goods increased by 17%. We'll continue to support the expansion of this sector by giving due recognition to locally manufactured products and encouraging exports of motion goods. Mr. Speaker, sir, first, to promote locally manufactured products and encourage a buy local culture, the virtual exhibition platform for locally manufactured goods at the EDB will be operational as from October 2022. A Semaine de l'Industrie Locale will be organized to promote the savoir-faire of motion enterprises, and EDB will identify products to obtain geographical indication and its label. Second, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm announcing a series of measures to maintain the incredible momentum in exports. The freight rebate scheme and the trade promotion and marketing scheme will be extended up to June 2023. Furthermore, SME will benefit from the freight rebate scheme on the South African market. Exporting agents of locally manufactured products will also be eligible to the trade promotion and marketing scheme. We'll maintain the 50% reduction in port charges on export. Moreover, the SME International Fairs Refund Scheme will be open to free port operators. To support our industries in exporting to the region, we will charter 2 regional feeder vessels. Phase 1, La Route de l'Inde, will start in September 2022 and service the South Asian route, including India, Sri Lanka, and Seychelles. Phase 2, La Route de l'Afrique Orientale, will be launched in November 2022 and service the Eastern African countries, notably Madagascar, Tanzania, and Kenya. Our country, Mr. Speaker, sir, is currently engaged in significant investment for the construction of social housing, drains, and other infrastructure projects. In addition, we have a private sector investment pipeline of more than 200 billion rupees under facilitation by the EDB. The industry needs to reinforce its capacity and improve the skills of its workforce. To this end, a construction industry training council is being set up. Moreover, the Construction Industry Development Board, CIDB, and the Building Control Advisory Council will be merged into the Construction Industry Authority. To improve competitiveness of local construction companies, public contracts below 20 million rupees will be reserved for small contractors. Government will reinstate the margin of preference for local contractors, and DBM Limited will offer a loan facility of up to 25 million rupees at a concessional rate of 3.5% per annum. The ADB will also introduce a transit-oriented scheme to create vibrant, walkable, and mixed-use areas within a radius of 100 meters of metro stations. Under this scheme, property developers will be exempted from payment of registration duty on lease or acquisition of land to develop an approved project, and also will be eligible for accelerated annual allowance on green technology equipment expenditure. Mr. Speaker, sir, the tourism is fast recovering. We are confident that we will achieve pre-pandemic figures in the tourism sector in the next financial year. That is nearly 1.4 million tourists. Both the average spending per tourist and the length of stay in Mauritius have increased. This shows that Mauritius is and is a destination of choice for travelers. To support the recovery, we are increasing the marketing budget of the MTPA by more than 10%, from 360 million rupees to 400 million rupees, to consolidate existing markets, tap into new opportunities and niche markets. To accommodate ultra-high net passengers, personalized facilities will be offered by Airport Holding Limited. Services will comprise handling of private jets and transfers from the airport to hotels by helicopter. To support hotels in their refurbishment, the 50% lease rent waiver is being extended up to June 2023. Events with a minimum of 50 participants will be eligible to benefit from VAT refund under the Meetings, Incentives, Conferences and Exhibitions scheme. 150 million rupees is being provided over the next 3 years for the regeneration of the SSR Botanical Garden. We want everyone arriving in Mauritius to be given the opportunity to discover our unique products. Thus, all incoming passengers of Air Mauritius will receive a voucher of 200 rupees to be spent on arrival at the Mauritius duty-free paradise. For the future of the sector, a 10-year blueprint will be prepared. Mr. Speaker, sir, for 2 years now, the arts and culture industry has been practically at a halt. We need to support and reignite our incredible arts, culture, and historical institutions as they reopen. It is an industry which brings together our sense of identity and unites us as one nation. To promote creativity and encourage more artistic projects, new schemes will be introduced, namely an artist incubator scheme to nurture emerging talents, a scheme to facilitate the participation of local talents in international award ceremonies, and a scheme for local artists to participate in international competitions. For professionalization and development of the creative sector, 20 million rupees is being earmarked for the setting up of a national arts center, including a recording studio at Réunion Morel Petit Raphaël. The Centre de Formation Artistique will be revamped, and the Serge Constantin Theatre and the Pointe Cano Open Air Theatre will be modernized. The Côte d'Or National Sports Complex will be equipped to host major concerts by local and international artists. An expression of interest will be launched to encourage private operators to renovate, maintain, and operate historical buildings and landmarks, including the Château Benares and the Citadel on a commercial basis. In the context of the 55th anniversary of the independence, 12 Fêtes Nationales will be organized throughout the year 2023 at Cupip, Trou-de-Douce, Mayberg, Souillac, Flic-en-Flac, Rosil, Saint-Pierre, Flac, Goodlands, Triolet, Port-Maturin, and Port-Louis. The first edition of the Mauritius Arts Expo will be organized this year. Government is providing a grant of 5,000 rupees to all registered artists displaying at the Mauritius Arts Expo. Finally, to promote Mauritian literature, government will adopt a public policy to purchase local works published in the year and make them accessible to Mauritians in public libraries. Mr. Speaker, sir, the financial services industry has demonstrated strong resilience in the face of the crisis with a growth rate of 4.2% last year. Furthermore, we are out of the FATF, EU, and UK list. We need to build on this momentum. To this end, the Bank of Mauritius, together with the Bank of China, will launch a regional renminbi clearing center this year. The Bank of Mauritius will collaborate with the National Payments Corporation of India for the issuance of RuPay cards and Indian QR code in Mauritius. A national payment card will be introduced for customers, and the Financial Services Commission will revamp its framework to enable reinsurance companies to set up operations in Mauritius. To continue the overhauling of the financial services sector, the government will adopt a legislative framework to converge the domestic and the global business regime. As part of our actions against tax-based erosion and profit shifting, we are introducing a domestic minimum top-up tax to ensure that resident companies of large multinationals are taxed at a minimum rate of 15%. On the occasion of the 55th anniversary of the Bank of Mauritius, a 5-year Emerald Jubilee bond will be issued at an annual interest rate of 4%. To cater for specialist trainings in the sector, the Financial Services Institute will become an awarding body. Moreover, the Bank of Mauritius and the FSC will renew their one-year graduate training program on AML, targeting 100 graduates with a monthly stipend of 15,000 rupees. The Financial Crime Commission will be set up to ensure an effective coordination in the fight against financial crimes. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ICT sector has been one of the few sectors which has registered a positive growth rate in the last 2 years despite the pandemic. The sector has known a renewed dynamism with major multinational companies relocating to Mauritius and creating job opportunities. The Digital Industries Academy will provide training to 1,000 individuals in data communications, 5G, cloud computing, AI, and cybersecurity as from July 2022. Moreover, the Digital Industries Academy will set up a DIA incubator for high-end ICT product development. It will partner with telco providers, banks, and international players to provide mentoring and financing to 50 incubators. I'm providing 15 million rupees for a second connection for the government online center to ensure access to government services. To continue the public service digitalization strategy, a number of services will be offered online, including application for certificate character, payment of road traffic fine, and application for social benefits. Finally, to maintain a continuous dynamism and expansion of the sector, a 5-year blueprint will be devised. Mr. Sir, small and medium businesses are the lifeblood of our economy and a powerhouse of and this is why, during the last 2 years, government provided its full support to SMEs through the wage assistance scheme and financing the additional remuneration. Moreover, through the DBM and the IFCM, some 4.7 billion rupees have been approved as loans and equity financing to more than 12,000 SMEs. Government will spare no efforts to nurture the growth of small and medium businesses. To this end, the SME Act will be amended to review the definition of SMEs. Micro-enterprise from a turnover of 2 million rupees to 10 million rupees. Small enterprise from a turnover above 10 million rupees and up to 30 million rupees. And medium enterprise from a turnover above 30 million rupees and up to 100 million rupees. All companies with a turnover of up to 100 million rupees will henceforth be categorized as SMEs instead of 50 million rupees currently. A mid-market enterprise with a turnover up to 250 million rupees will now be included as a new category under the SME Act. This will effectively enable some 142,000 enterprises to benefit from improved access to government support programs and financing. Mr. Speaker, sir, the DBM will extend the SME interest-free loan scheme and the COVID-19 special support scheme up to June 2023. To consolidate the DBM network, 3 new branches at Saint-Pierre, Rivière-des-Anguilles, and Bambou will be opened by end of 2022. DBM is allocating 5 billion rupees to support SMEs, mid-market enterprises, and entrepreneurs. And the MIC is setting up a venture capital fund of 5 billion rupees targeting SME and mid-market enterprises. For the cooperative sector, we are providing a 50% grant up to 500,000 rupees for the purchase of recycling equipment and transportation for local suppliers. Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget shows that Mauritius remains amongst the most business-friendly countries in the world. For businesses to invest, train, recruit, and innovate, it will henceforth not cost a single rupee to start a business and incorporate a company in Mauritius. Bank of Mauritius will ensure that a bank account can be opened within 1 week, be it for an individual or a business. An interministerial committee chaired by the Prime Minister will oversee the streamlining of licenses and permits in the construction, tourism, healthcare, and logistics sectors. Moreover, we'll introduce a business regulatory reform bill as an apex legislation on business facilitation. We'll support businesses by enabling them to recruit talents under the Young Professional Occupation Permit. And we will enable entrepreneurs and students completing their studies to benefit from the premium visa. Holders of residence permits will be given the opportunity, upon applications, to acquire a residential property of a minimum of $350,000 USD outside the existing schemes, subject to a 10% contribution made to the Solidarity Fund. A committee chaired by the Prime Minister will examine the applications on a monthly basis. To continue building on the silver economy strategy to attract more foreign retirees in Mauritius, the EDB will organize the first edition of the Mauritius International Silver Economy Festival. We support businesses as they invest in the training and skilling of thousands of youth, men and women, to an increased monthly stipend of 8,000 rupees for those under the National Apprentice Program and the National Skills Development Program, and 1,000 rupees for the graduating for employment. Encourage women getting into the job market by doubling the period of placement to 2 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, our second strategy is to accelerate our country's transition into a model of sustainable and inclusive development. Sustainable growth involves a cleaner, greener, and a more climate-resilient country. Accelerating the transition to more secure and cleaner home-ground energy supply is imperative. To meet our current energy consumption, we need a capacity of 761 megawatts. This is expected to increase to 1,196 megawatts by 2030. We currently have 165 megawatts of capacity from renewable sources. To achieve our target of 60% energy from renewable sources by 2030, we need an additional 435 megawatts from renewable sources. I'm therefore announcing a green transformation package to increase our share of electricity supply from local renewable sources. Hybrid renewable energy facilities will be set up in partnership with private promoters for a total capacity of 140 megawatts. CEB is investing in an 8-megawatt solar PV farm at Henrietta by February 2023 to increase its capacity from 2 megawatt to 10 megawatt. A 1-megawatt solar farm will be commissioned at Grenade in Rodrigues. DBM Energy Limited will implement solar PV projects at its industrial buildings as well as other public buildings for a total capacity of 6.2 megawatt. Airports of Mauritius Limited will invest in a 14-megawatt solar photovoltaic system as part of the opening of the SR International Airport and the surrounding airport area. To allow the CEB to accommodate more renewable energy on its grid, a 20-megawatt battery energy storage system will be installed at Amore. To encourage production and supply of renewable energy by households and non-commercial entities, 5,000 solar PV kits with a capacity of 9 megawatts will be installed on rooftops of households, religious bodies, NGOs, and charitable institutions, and a loan facility of up to 250,000 rupees will be made available by the DBM to domestic consumers at a concessional rate of 2% annum to finance the acquisition of solar PV systems. Individuals and companies will also be allowed to generate renewable energy up to a maximum of 150% of their annual requirement. The CEB will purchase electricity under the medium-scale distributed generation scheme, MSDG, at a feed-in tariff of 4.20 rupees per kilowatt-hour. The existing rental fee for production meters of renewable energy schemes is also being waived. Mr. Speaker, sir, the industrial sector is one of the largest energy consumers on the island, amounting to approximately 28% of total energy usage. Government is committed to ensure carbon neutrality in the sector by 2030. To this end, a renewable energy transition framework is being implemented through the generation of up to 150% of existing usage by industrial users. The provision of an agreed feed-in tariff of 4.20 rupees for industrial users by the CEB, allowing the setting up of both on-site and off-site PV installations by industries, and the introduction of a carbon-neutral loan scheme by the IFCM over 7 years at a preferential rate of 3%. In total, Mr. Speaker, sir, will produce an additional 200 megawatt from renewable sources by 2025, thus increasing our share of energy from renewable mix to 40%. This program is expected to generate at least 20 billion rupees of private investment over the next 3 years. A committee will be chaired by the Minister to fast-track the implementation of renewable energy projects to attain this objective. Mr. Speaker, sir, will further reduce our dependence on imports of products, decarbonize the land transport system, and accelerate the EV transition. The Metro Press will be fully operational on the Port Louis Cupic as between Rosy and Réduit before the end of this year. Metro Express Limited will implement photovoltaic farms at its Richelieu depot at Berkeley as well as at Eben Recreational Park to cater for its electricity needs. To further promote the electrification of the public transport system, the IFCM will provide leasing facilities of 3% per annum over 10 years to transport operators to acquire electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. In addition, Mr. Speaker, sir, 200 electric buses will be acquired to renew half of the fleet of the National Transport Corporation. As from the next financial year, the bus modernization scheme will only apply to electric buses. Moreover, IFCM will provide concessionary leasing at 3.5% per annum to companies renewing their company fleet to electric only. DBM will provide a 0.5% loan of up to 3 million rupees to taxis and van operators over a period of 7 years for the purchase of electric vehicles. As from 1st July 2022, all hybrid and electric vehicles will be duty-free. We are I will repeat, as from 1st July 2022, all hybrid and electric vehicles will be duty-free. We are going the extra mile by introducing a negative excise duty scheme of 10% for the purchase of electric vehicles by individuals up to a maximum of 200,000 rupees. Every 10% increase, Mr. Speaker, sir, in energy efficiency enables us to save 1 billion rupees in imports. To this end, the Energy Efficiency Management Office will introduce mandatory minimum energy performance standards for air conditioners and extend the mandatory energy labeling to television sets and tumble dryers. Moreover, local authorities will be required to replace 10% of street lighting in secondary roads by standalone electric lamps annually. Mr. Speaker, sir, the cleaning and greening of Mauritius are truly a nationwide effort. In advancing this green transition, will secure a more sustainable future for ourselves and for our children. This is indeed why the National Environment Cleaning Agency has been set up under the aegis of the Prime Minister's Office to develop our national cleaning strategy. I'm allocating 1 billion rupees to the cleanup and embellishment program, as well as for the rehabilitation of beaches, lagoons, and coral reefs, including completion of the beach rehabilitation works at Pointe-aux-Feuilles to Grand Sable, Providence to Grand Port, Bois des Amourettes, and Petit Sable to Ange-Jonché. Upgrading of access and parking areas at Pomponnet and Pointe-au-Piment public beaches, implementation of beach management plans at Montchoisy, Flic-en-Flac, La Prairie, Bellemare, and Grand Bay, installation of solar lightings at beaches, extension of the mangroves plantation and restoration program, acquisition of 2 new tipper lorries for effective waste collection and disposal, and cleaning and embellishment of 120 public sites, including places of worship, children's playgrounds, and health tracks. I'm also earmarking 400 million rupees to undertake landslide rehabilitation works across the island. Mr. Speaker, sir, to promote locally manufactured products from recycled materials, a tipping fee will be paid to local recyclers per ton of waste, excluding used tires and PET bottles. And a margin of preference will be provided for products manufactured from recycled materials. To improve resource recovery from recyclers, an additional déchetterie will be set up for disposal of waste oils, construction and demolition waste, amongst others. A pilot composting unit and a sorting unit will be developed for the separation of dry and wet waste resources for sale to registered recyclers on a PPP basis. A framework will be introduced to encourage composting in waste, household, markets, box and garbage. A scrapyard vehicles declared totals and big economic line will be created on a PPP basis. To further enhance our awareness to disasters, 90 million rupees will be provided over the next 3 years for the purchase of oil spill combat equipment. Mr. Speaker, sir, last year we came up with an unprecedented flood management program to provide for effective drainage systems in identified flood-prone areas. Over the last summer month, the island continued to face major floods in different regions. Our thoughts or with those who have lost their homes, their belongings, and their businesses. Nothing can overcome the personal pain and loss of so many emotions. But we will stand with these communities to build resilience to flash floods and other unpredictable weather conditions. I'm earmarking an amount of 3.8 billion rupees in the next financial year to continue the National Flood Management Program, including including 61 million rupees at Pointe-aux-Sables, Paille, Canal d'Ayou, Résidence Richelieu, Bain des Dames, and Cassé. 91 million rupees at Résidence Rosemont, Vallée-Pitot, Boulevard Rivals, Pouce Street, Tranquebar, Lord Kitchener, and Raoul Rivette in Port Louis. 66 million rupees at Canal Anglais, Rochebois, Route Nicolai, and Cornulov. 157 million rupees at Sainte-Croix, Vallée des Prêtres, Rivière-Latanier, and Inter-Rouge. At Cité Roma, Morcellement-Goulamali, and Morcellement-Raffray. 306 million rupees at Pamplemousse, Pointe-au-Piment, Arsenal, Calbas, Cité Nelson Mandela, and Beji-Tombeau. 69 million rupees at the Vale, Petit Raffray, and Poudre d'Or Village. 293 million rupees at La Paix-Piton, Plaine des Papayes, Petite Julie, Poudre d'Or Hamlet, L'Amitié, and Rivière-Port. 281 million rupees at Tourelle, l'Agrément Saint-Pierre, Nouvelle Dagotière, Telfer Moka, La Laura Malanga, Dagotière, Quartier Militaire, and L'Avenir. 20 million rupees at Pink Pigeon, Queen Victoria, in Poste de Flac, at Cité Hibiscus, à Lemong and Débarcadère, and at La Sauce, Centre de Flac. 179 million rupees at Bramstan, Sans Souci Road, Montagne, and Clémentia. 501 million rupees at Bambou-Virieux, Rivière des Créoles, Anse-Jonché, Petit Bel-Air, Grand Sable, Rosebelle, Gros-Billot, Rivière-la-Chaux, Saint-Hubert, Saint-Hilaire, Nouvelle-France, and Providence. 316 million rupees at Maïbo, Trois-Boutiques, Plaine-Magnan, Mortabat, Bois d'Oiseau, and Ville-Noire. 285 million rupees at Grand-Bois, La Flora, Cantagore, l'Escalier, Niacamiselle, Rivière des Anguilles, Dispensary Road, Camp-Diable, Ruisseau Paresse, Camp-Banane, Bois-Chéri, and Taillac. 150 million rupees at Chemin Grenier, near Mosquée Road, Ernest Lemaire, Morcellement-Chazal, Ficanflac, and Dacry Bambou. 200 million rupees in Vacqua, at Solferino, and La Caverne, and Canfoucro. 117 million rupees at Malakoff, Sadali, La Marie, Junction Abbé Laval, and Lazare Streets, and Charles Reynaud. 218 million rupees at Cupip, Robinson, Forestside, and Ocoulé. 101 million rupees in Quatre-Bornes, at Sodnac, Avenue des Ibis, Palma, Rémy Ollier Road, La Louise, Résidence Beauséjour. 61 million rupees at Plaisance, Hadji Alaman Street, Avenue Malac, Avenue Huguenin, Berthaud Avenue, Avenue Gina, Old Arab Town, Rochebrune, and Montroche. 96 million rupees at Résidence Leschebec, Barclay, and Cormandel, and 132 million rupees in Rodrigue at Port-Maturin, Gache, Port and Ali. Speaker, sir, our vision is that of a sustainable, more efficient, more inclusive, and more resilient. We need to imagine our towns and villages as areas of sustainable living. A sustainable city scheme is produced of a concept of sustainable living for people and nature. Furthermore, an international Sustainable City Summit will be organized by the EDB this year. To finance the implementation of our sustainability roadmap, a carbon credit trading framework will be prepared, an environmental, social, and corporate governance ESG framework will be developed, and an inaugural sustainable bond will be issued. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government has the unflinching conviction that the strength and resilience of our economy resides in inclusiveness. We spare no effort to ensure that all Mauritians have access to an equitable and quality education system, resilient healthcare, affordable housing, modern amenities, and a safe environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the key to our development agenda is education. It is a source of opportunity for every Mauritian. In 2021, there has been a marked improvement in the performance of students in the SC and HSC exams. We'll continue to invest to help every child achieve his full potential. An amount of 18.3 billion rupees is being provided for free education in Mauritius, be it at primary, secondary, or tertiary. At the pre-primary level, I'm providing a one-off grant of 50,000 rupees to further support 125 private pre-primary schools in disadvantaged regions. Government will continue to support students with special education needs and learning difficulties. To this end, 53 schools run by NGOs, including those run by the Service Diocésain de l'Éducation catholique, will be eligible to a grant of 100,000 rupees for repairs and renovation of buildings, and 50,000 rupees for purchase of equipment and pedagogical tools and materials. The allowance paid to specialists providing support, paramedical services, children in science schools is being increased by 10%. Hot meal and transport facilities in science schools will be provided to all students, irrespective of age. BM will provide a loan of 100,000 rupees, concessionary interest rate of 3.5% for the upgrading and embellishment of the science schools infrastructure. Finally, the grant to NGOs SEDEC to run school is being increased to 155 million rupees. I'm providing funds for the construction of a pre-primary school at Pond, a new science block at John Kennedy College, classrooms at Royal College Port Louis, a new administrative block at Queen Elizabeth College, a gymnasium at Royal College QPIP, science laboratories at France Boyer de la Giraudet and Sukhdeo Bissundoyal State College. I'm making provision for 15-year-old students to participate in the 2024 edition of the OECD program for international student assessment. I'm increasing the allowance paid to teachers of evening schools running Oriental classes by 1,000 rupees monthly. A new student accommodation facility will be constructed on a PPP basis at Côte d'Or for both the public and private higher education sector. In honor of the incredible achievements of late Sir Nehru Jagannath for the country, government will introduce a SAJ National Scholarship Scheme. The scholarship will be awarded to 2 laureates, 1 boy and 1 girl, ranked first on the economic side. Mr. Speaker, sir, 2 years ago, we were faced by the worst and the most unpredictable health crisis in our history. Throughout the pandemic, Mauritians, in particular our healthcare workers, have been exemplary on the front line, fighting against the lockdown to protect the lives of our loved ones. We are much stronger now. What the pandemic has taught us is that we need to relentlessly improve our public health ecosystem and strengthen our resilience. This entails sustained investment in infrastructure, technology, and skills. Therefore, we are increasing the healthcare budget to some 14.7 billion rupees from 13.1 billion rupees last year. This includes some 2.5 billion rupees for modernizing the health infrastructure, of which 870 million rupees for completion of the new cancer center by December 2022, 440 million rupees for completion of the new Flak Hospital by June 2023, 200 million rupees to upgrade the neonatal intensive care unit and construct the renal transplant center at the Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, 192 million rupees to start works for the new eye hospital at Mocha, 25 million rupees for upgrading works at Suyak Hospital, 20 million rupees for a new hemodialysis unit at the SSRN Hospital, and for the acquisition of lithotripsy machines in regional hospitals, 15 million rupees for fertility clinics at 4 regional hospitals, and 10 million rupees for a new orthopedic work at Brown Mental Health Care Center. A sum of 325 million rupees, the amount for the acquisition of high-tech medical equipment, including X-ray machines for the Suyak Hospital and scan equipment for the Flak Hospital. The phase of the new Flak Teaching Hospital project will be implemented under the public-private partnership framework. Furthermore, announced by the Honorable Prime Minister at the grounding ceremony of the WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine in India, a new hospital constructed at Kodor. I am providing funds for engineering study construction of accident and emergency department at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, new autistic daycare wards in hospitals starting with Suyak Hospital, a Mediclinic at Rivière du Rempart, new area health centers at Bamboo and Kyopip, and new community health centers at Cantorel, Écroyard, The Vale, Glen Park, Casse-Noyal, Piton, and Tamarin. Mr. Speaker, sir, to strengthen the capacity of the public health sector to deliver high-quality services, I'm providing for the recruitment of 1,354 staff this year. Furthermore, to ensure 24/7 specialized services, specialists in the fields of obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, and anesthesia will be physically present in hospital at all times. Primary PCI angiography services will be offered at the Victoria Hospital and the Trust Fund for Specialized Medical Care for Cardiac Center. The grant amount for patients requiring stretch during overseas treatment for cases of surgery and bone marrow transplant is being increased by 2,000 rupees. Finally, to discourage consumption of cigarettes and alcoholic products, I'm increasing the rate of excise duty by 10%. I will be moving for a financial resolution to that effect. Mr. Speaker, sir, I now come to measures to promote gender equality, enhance women empowerment, and ensure child protection. With regard to the protection of children, an additional release shelter at Notre Dame is now operational. Residents of shelters aged between 16 and 18 years will benefit from a skills development program to enhance their employability. In addition, the one-off cash grant of 500,000 rupees for upgrading of creche is being maintained. Moreover, the National Adoption Bill will be introduced to provide a legal framework for both local and foreign adoption of children. To promote women entrepreneurship at the grassroots level, some 50 women will be provided with 3-month mentoring and paid a monthly stipend of 11,500 rupees. In addition, a model shelter for women victims of domestic violence will be constructed at Rivière-du-Poste, including nursery and pre-primary facilities. To promote community-based activities, 3 community centers at Goukoula, Saint-Aubin, and Saint-Pierre are being revamped into community wellness centers. Furthermore, a new community center will be constructed at Stanley, Rosehill to provide proximity services. Mr. Speaker, sir, we'll continue in our endeavor to provide our citizens and businesses with modern amenities and infrastructure. To pursue our road decongestion program, I'm providing 2.6 rupees next financial year to implement construction. In this respect, some 1 billion rupees is being provided for the completion of the Palmerstone Road by September 2022, the M1 bridge by December 2022, Avigi Pastry by February 2023, and the bypass March 2023. Improve connectivity and provide 5 billion over the fiscal year, the construction 5 new flyovers at Kédé, Terre Rouge, Saint-Pierre, Wotton, and Eben. 3 new bypasses at Flic-en-Flac, connecting Pierrefonds to Avenue Radar, at Bois-Chéry from Avalon to Grand Bois, and at Hermitage along Côte d'Or Road. A new link road from La Brasserie to Bossonge, a new link road from Dubreuil to Melrose, and upgrading and enlargement of the road from Beauclima to Taillac. A new regulatory framework will be implemented by December 2022 to enable users to book taxi services online. Mr. Speaker, sir, government is committed to investing in safe and affordable housing for our citizens so that each and every family has a decent home. We made a commitment to provide 12,000 families with a decent home during this mandate. Construction will start in just 2 months in Coromandel and subsequently across 50 sites throughout the island. We'll deliver on our promise to complete this landmark project by 2024. In addition, the NHDC will deliver 485 housing units at Wotton and Mort d'Albert by June 2023, and start construction of 1,170 units at Mongout, Malherbe, and La. Mr. Speaker, furthermore, investing $1.4 billion construction and upgrading of community development facilities. These projects include 5 incinerators, Quartier Militaire, Taillac, Rivière du Rempart, Tranquebar, and Midlands. 5 futsal at Terre Rouge, Baie du Tombeau, d'Épinay, Bellevue-Morel, and Amitié. 9 multipurpose complexes at Cœur, Chez, Trier, Plaine des Cailles, Cambeux, in Port-Louis, Chebel, Malherbe, Rochebois, and Ségem-Mille. 3 integrated sports projects at Quatre-Bornes, Morcellement-Saint-Antoine, and Rochebois. 10 outdoor gyms at D'Épinay, Réduit, Villenoire, Rivière-des-Anguilles, Souillac, Bois-Chéry, Henrietta, Cité-Montgalcan, La Marie, and Quatre-Bornes. 6 markets at Bonaccueil, Moka, L'Escalier, Rivière-des-Anguilles, Terre-Rouge, and Taillac. 2 gymnasia at Port-Louis and Rosehill. Green spaces at Lower Dagotière, Plaine-Magnan, Chebel, Rosehill, Port-Louis, Saint-Aubin, and La Caverne. A recreational center at Alma. 23 new mini soccer pitches at Piton, Pointe-aux-Canonniers, Pointe-aux-Sables, L'Agrément-Saint-Pierre, Invaqua at Holyrood, Granum and Devergue, La Tapie-Bonaccueil, Marlachaux, Bel-Air, Camp-de-Masque, Bramstan, Clémentia, Sébastopol, Camp-Carole, Beaubassin, Plaine-Verte, Camp-Yelof, Palma, Saint-Campan, Midlands, and Terre-Rouge. 18 football grounds at Flic-en-Flac, Marpoux-le-Clésio, Mar d'Australia, Montida, Écoignard, Trou-de-Douce, Banane, Cluny, Montgalcan, les casernes Curepipe, Malherbe, Paille, résidence La Cure, Saint-Pierre, Bois des Amourettes, résidence Larchaux-Beauvallon, Allée-Briand, Floréal, and Rocheterre. 4 sub-halls at Gros-Billot, Nouvelle-France, Terre-Rouge, and Rocheterre. 9 municipal complexes at Morgravier, Chebel, Montroche, Rosehill, Curepipe, Les Salines, Marie-Reine de la Paix, Plaine-Verte, and Vaqua. 5 volleyball pitches at Tamarin, Plaine des Roches, Verdun, Résidence Atelier, Curepipe, Montagne-Aury, and upgrading of 17 cemeteries and 11 cremation grounds. Mr. Speaker, sir, the development and promotion of sports, be it at community or professional levels, are key to a more resilient Mauritius population. We'll rally support to our athletes to participate in various high-level events. This week, Mauritius will host some 450 elite athletes and delegates from 54 countries for the 22nd African Senior Athletic Championships at the Côte d'Or National Sports Complex. I'm providing 50 million rupees for the preparation of athletes and the organization of the Commission de la Jeunesse et des Sports de l'Océan Indien Games in December this year. We'll also bid to host the 2025 Africa and Asia Pacific Quarret Games and the next Commonwealth Youth Games. 30 million rupees is earmarked for the preparation of our athletes for Indian Ocean Island Games 2023 and the 2024 Olympic Games. 50 million rupees will be allocated to sports federations to enable athletes to prepare for high-level games. The Mauritius Recreation Council will organize recreational activities at the Anse-Larrey, Belle-Ombre, Bellemare, Flic-en-Flac, and Pointe-Jérôme outdoor education recreation centers. The Beauvallon football ground will be upgraded. An amount of 55 million rupees is being provided to upgrade 8 youth centers at Bois-Chéry, Résidence Florida at Baie-du-Tombeau, Résidence Kennedy, Résidence Malherbe, Rochebois, Rosebel, Tamarin, and Trèfle. Furthermore, we are providing a special grant of 15,000 rupees to our high-level professional athletes for the purchase of sports equipment. We'll provide an amount of 10 million rupees for smart youth programs, including National Youth Volunteer Scheme, Duke of Edinburgh International Award, Jeunesse Montrée de Talent, and National Youth Civic Service. We also want to provide our youth the means to enhance their creativity, desire to read, and engage in sports. A sports and culture voucher of 500 rupees, the Passport Culture, will be provided to youth aged between 15 and 25 years old for the purchase of books, musical and sports equipment, as well as arts and cultural activities. Mr. Speaker, sir, to improve water supply throughout the island, 100 million rupees will be provided to start the construction of the Rivière des Anguilles Dam and for the upgrading of La Ferme Reservoir. 1 billion rupees will be invested in water distribution projects, including replacement of pipes in Rosil, L'Aventure, L'Almaty, Pierrefonds, Flic-en-Flac, L'Escalier, Chamonix, Chemin-Grenier, Roche, Plaine-Verte, Plaine-Magnan, Saint-Fayence, Écart, Bonnac, Plaine-Lausanne, du Sac, Plaine des Roches, and Roche amongst others. Construction of ces reservoirs include rich en eau, Malazie, Aubourg, and Alma, installation of filtration plants at Beauchamp, Calbas, Stance, Rivière, Melrose, Taillac, Yemen, construction of and upgrade of existing treatment plants at Mont Piton du Midi and Pont-Lardier. Over 100 million rupees is being earmarked for the provision of water tanks and water pumps to some additional 12,500 households. 10 million rupees will be provided under a rainwater harvesting program in 100 schools, 10 hospitals, 10 agricultural farms and nurseries, and 10 marketplaces for optimal use of water resources. Furthermore, some 1.1 billion rupees will be provided for the implementation of sewerage infrastructure projects in Grand Bay, Paille, Quatre-Bornes, Morcel-Mangoulamali, Terre-Rouge, Pointe-aux-Sables, Bambou, and Résidence Atli, Highlands, Canrouillard, Vallée des Prêtres, and Chamarel. Refurbishment of the wastewater treatment plants at Montagne-Jacot and Saint-Martin, and extension of sewer lines and connection to additional premises in sewered regions across the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, government will continue to invest to enhance the quality of our public service. The Civil Service College under construction will be equipped with modern facilities and IT equipment to facilitate online training, webinars, video conferencing, as well as interactive coaching. Some 8,353 new public officers will be recruited in this financial year. With the implementation of an electronic document management system, public officers will be able to work remotely. To further strengthen accountability and transparency by public secretaries, the Director of Audit as from next financial year, issued consolidated reports on local authorities and statutory bodies together with the annual audit report. Mr. Speaker, sir, government will continue supporting our police force in upholding law and order for a safer Mauritius for one and all. We are therefore providing 10.9 billion rupees to the police force to offer quality and efficient service to the population. First, one advanced light helicopter will be acquired to enable prompt intervention in anti-drug missions, search and rescue operations, and other support to the inner islands. Second, Mauritius Disciplinary Forces Academy will be constructed at Côte d'Or to provide a common training platform for the police, prison, and fire and rescue services. This will also include a new police headquarters. Third, a new coastal surveillance radar system will be installed to ensure effective coastal surveillance and monitoring of movement of vessels. Fourth, the fleet of vehicles will be renewed to increase the operational capabilities of the police force. Fifth, a new automated fingerprint identification system will be implemented. Sixth, light armored personnel carriers to better handle disaster situations will be acquired. Seventh, a new building will be constructed at La Vigie to house the Forensic Science Laboratory. Mr. Speaker, sir, since 2015, this government has been engaged in a relentless battle against drug trafficking with the seizure of over 13.7 billion rupees worth of dangerous drugs and the arrest of some 20,000 persons by the Anti-Drug and Smuggling Unit at SU. This year itself, our police force has seized 5 billion rupees worth of dangerous drugs and arrested over 4,400 persons. To further intensify the fight against drug trafficking, 18 million rupees is being provided for the acquisition of vehicles and special equipment for the ATSU. And high patrol vessels will be acquired for the National Coast Guard to track illicit activities on the high seas. To control the entry of unlawful objects into prisons, 18 million rupees is being allocated for the installation of two-body scanners in the Eastern High Security and the Grande Rivière Northwest prisons. 15 million rupees is earmarked for the implementation of e-passports and e-gates to enhance border security. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me now unveil our policies for Rodrigues and the Outer Islands. A total budget of 6.8 billion rupees has been provided for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. 125 million rupees for the completion of the technology park at Baladiru in early 2023. 100 million rupees for the construction of 30 kilometers of truck roads. 60 million rupees for the implementation of environmental projects, including a material recovery center at Roche-Bondieu, a wastewater treatment plant at Grenade, deseating of riverbeds, and an integrated waste management and sorting system. Water supply remains a high priority for the development of Rodrigues. In this respect, 36.3 million rupees has been provided for the construction and upgrading of reservoirs, dams, and boreholes, and the rain harvesting scheme for all eligible households will be renewed. I'm allocating 20 million rupees to operationalize a slaughterhouse in Rodrigues. I'm also extending the subsidy on special Rodrigues holiday package and subsidy on airfare up to September 2023. Exports from Rodrigues to Mauritius will also benefit from the freight rebate scheme and the trade promotion and marketing scheme. The 20% rebate on the cost of freight between Mauritius and Rodrigues, announced last year, is being maintained and will also be extended to Agaliga. We are extending all the schemes for the agricultural and livestock sector Rodrigues. 6 million is earmarked for acquisition of equipment and utility vehicles Agaliga. Mr. Speaker, sir, of more than 50 years, a historic visit was undertaken by a motion delegation to the Chagos in February 2022. We'll our fight for the decolonization of our territory and implement a program for resettlement in the Chagos archipelago. The second trip to the Chagos archipelago will be undertaken. Moreover, the budget of the Chagosian Welfare Fund will be increased to 7 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, I now come to the budget outturn. Today's forecast confirms the effectiveness of our strategy. Total expenditure will amount to 172.9 billion rupees, whilst revenue will be 150 billion rupees. This makes a budget deficit of 4% of GDP, 1% lower than last year. Public sector debt is expected to fall steadily from 87.4% by end June 2022 to 78% by end of June 2023, lower than our fiscal anchor. We'll thus achieve our objective to bring down public sector debt to less than 80% of GDP 2 years ahead of schedule. For 2022-2023, GDP will grow by 8.5%. This budget is driven by investment. We are investing to build resilience in our economy, in our public finances, and most importantly, in our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now elaborate on our measures for each and every one. Government will support the Mauritian people as it has always done. We have stood by the population whilst the pandemic was at its worst and will continue to stand by them. This is why the focus of the measures that I'm announcing will be on investing in people. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are today subject to pressures from external shocks, disruptions to global supply chains, rising energy and commodity prices, magnified by the war in Ukraine, impacted on the cost of living. We cannot remain insensitive to this situation. This government has a responsibility to those who are most impacted by rising prices. This is why we'll provide direct support to the most vulnerable, the disabled, and the pensioners, but also to thousands of middle-income earners who are facing challenging times as well. We'll ensure that no one is left behind, because our people who are just collateral victims need relief today. I'm unveiling meaningful, targeted, and appropriate measures to make life more affordable. Mr. Speaker, sir, we'll ensure that essential products are and remain accessible to the population. Per maison is certainly what one will find in all Mauritian houses. We are committed to maintaining its retail price at ₹2.60. To this end, we are providing 1.4 billion rupees for a subsidy of 591 rupees and 25 cents on a pack of 25 kilograms of flour to bakers. Bakers will therefore continue to pay the bag of 25 kilograms of flour at 108 rupees 75 cents instead of 700 rupees. Cooking gas is another item that the vast majority of Mauritian households needs in their everyday life. We are therefore providing 2 billion rupees to keep the price of a 12-kilogram cylinder of cooking gas at 240 rupees instead of 680 rupees. To maintain the price of rice at 10 rupee 80 cents, which is 60% lower than the actual price of 26 rupees and 20 cents, we are allocating 370 million rupees. We are going further by earmarking 500 million to the SC for it to supply essential products such as milk, edible oil, and pulses at a subsidized rate. We are introducing price control on pasta, wheat cereal, infant food, as well as baby and adult diapers. Moreover, the margin for pharmaceutical products is being reduced through a regressive markup regime. Finally, products will have to be sold at a discount of at least 50% of the original price after their best before date, but prior to their expiry date. Mr. Speaker, sir, more jobs means more income, and more income means higher purchasing power. Fortunately, our economy is well on its recovery path. Jobs are available for our people. Sectors such as renewable energy, financial services, ICT, manufacturing, tourism, and construction are all in need of more employees. It is a unique opportunity to bring thousands of young Mauritians and women into the labor force. Government will therefore provide a monthly prime à l'emploi of 15,000 rupees for the first year of employment of 10,000 youth between 18 and 35 years and women up to 50 years. We are also creating new employment opportunities for some 8,353 people in the public sector. MITD examination fees is being waived for all students. Moreover, we are providing 500 million rupees for the recruitment of 2,000 employees at Mori Facilities Limited for cleaning services. Mr. Speaker, more jobs for our people enable easier access to property. Emotions, owning a home is a life goal. This government will continue to help to make it a reality. We'll provide a direct subsidy to make the acquisition of commercial property more affordable. To this end, we are maintaining the home ownership and home loan schemes with a 5% refund up to 500,000 rupees another year. Enabling each spouse married under the regime corps et bien to benefit from the exemption of registration duty for first-time buyers. We'll ensure that each and every citizen has a decent and safe home to live in for himself and for his family. Mr. Speaker, sir, a safe, decent, and affordable place to live can make a difference, a real difference in the life of a family. We believe that ending poverty starts with every Mauritian having access to ownership. We are constructing 13,758 social housing units across the island. For the complete phasing out of asbestos, we'll rebuild some 1,800 ex-CHA houses for an amount of 800 million rupees over the next 2 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, for decades, those who live in urban areas have been subject to the municipal tax, irrespective of the size of their house. Let me say it here, it is unfair that a family pays municipal tax on his residence solely because he lives in an urban area. This is why we took a commitment in 2019 to redress this. I'm pleased to announce that as from the 1st of July 2022, we are abolishing the municipal tax on the family home. By doing so, we are effectively increasing the purchasing power of some 110,000 families. Mr. Speaker, sir, over the years, the sale by process has devastated the lives of thousands of our people. Today, we are pleased to announce a comprehensive reform of the sale by levy system to ensure that no family finds itself victim of this unfair regime. First, as recommended by the report of the Law Reform Commission, the mise à prix shall not be less than 90% of the value of the logement familial of the borrower. Second, the lender will recover only the capital and interest due from a sale, and penalties will be waived. Third, any amount recovered from the sale exceeding the amount due to the lender will be remitted totally to the borrower. Fourth, all sale by levy process will henceforth be conducted solely through a sealed bid process. Fifth, the lender will be legally obliged to erase a charge once a debt has been repaid. Sixth, the provision relating to contrainte par corps is being repealed. Mr. Speaker, sir, the low-income households are the hardest hit by the rise in prices. We know their struggle. We know that times are hard for them. Will not stay idle in the face of their difficulties. We'll help them face these challenging times just as we have always done. This is our philosophy. Today we are further strengthening our support to 18,000 households on the social register of Mauritius and those benefiting from social aid. For beneficiaries under the social register of Mauritius, we are increasing the minimum monthly subsistence allowance from 500 rupees to 1,000 rupees. We are also increasing the monthly child allowance from 957 rupees to 1,000 46 rupees. The administration fee for full-time courses at the MITD and other recognized public tertiary institutions is being waived. Free diapers will be provided for infants aged up to 1 year. And the basic invalidity pension will not be accounted in the income eligibility threshold. Mr. Speaker, sir, we know that some Mauritian households have insufficient means to support the essential needs of their families. Without government support, they should be unable to sustain their basic expenses. They are nonetheless the ones who are paying the highest price of inflation. To lessen the impact of rising prices, we are increasing the benefits under social aid by at least 20%. As from 1st July 2022. For the head of a family, we are increasing the monthly allowance for the claimant and the spouse from 1,527 rupees to 1,832 rupees. For a child under the age 3 years old, from 594 rupees to 713 rupees. For a child aged between 3 and 10 years, from 570 rupees to 713 rupees. For a child between 10 and 15 years, from 699 rupees to 839 rupees. For a child between 15 and 20 years and with a disability, from 1,527 to 1,832 rupees. For a child between 15 and 23 years and in full-time education, from 872 rupees to 1,046 rupees. For those suffering from a serious illness, from a maximum of 906 rupees to 1,087 rupees. And for the payment of rent up to a maximum of 1,045 rupees instead of 1,121 rupees. For a single mother, we are increasing the monthly allowance for herself from 1,597 rupees to 1,916 rupees. For a child age 3 years old, from 622 rupees to 746 rupees. For a child between 3 and 10 years, from 599 rupees to 746 rupees. For a child between 10 and 15 years, from 728 rupees to 874 rupees. For a child between 15 and 20 years and with a disability, from 1,597 rupees to 1,916 rupees. For a child between 15 and 23 years and in full-time education, from 914 rupees to 1,097 rupees. For those suffering from a serious illness, from a maximum of 953 rupees to 1,144 rupees. For the payment of rent up to a maximum of 1,414 rupees instead of 1,178 rupees. In fact, the minimum social aid for a family is 1,303 rupees. The funeral grant in the event of the death of the head of the family or any of his dependents is also being increased from 10,300 rupees to 12,360 rupees. Under social aid, we are also increasing the daily allowance for residents of charitable institutions by 20% up to 864 rupees. For cyclone and flood victims, from 198 rupees to 250 rupees. For fishermen in case of bad weather, from 475 rupees to 575 rupees. For households with a monthly income of less than 30,000 rupees, I'm increasing the financial assistance for the purchase of spectacles from 2,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees. Wheelchairs from 5,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. And hearing aids from 5,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, vulnerability leading to social isolation is a risk that we don't want any of our citizens to face. COVID-19 has put to the test of our social resilience. It is in the most difficult of times that you challenge yourself and go beyond the norms, both individually and collectively. Throughout the pandemic, we have seen a formidable sense of solidarity amongst Mauritians. They supported each other individually and through NGOs. We'll build on this momentum to further back our NGOs and charitable institutions in the impressive work they do. For charitable and religious institutions, we are increasing by 5% the grant under the per capita subsidy scheme and the fixed grant scheme. Provide a one-off assistance of 10 million rupees to religious bodies given the sanitary restrictions at places of worship. And exempting them from payment of wastewater charges. The National Social Inclusion Foundation and SIF will increase its budget to support programs and projects of NGOs from 900 million rupees to 1.1 billion rupees. This includes 200 million rupees to support children in residential care institutions, 35 million rupees on a program for vulnerable families under the National Database for Vulnerable Groups, 15 million rupees on a reintegration program of patients from Brown Sequard Hospital, and 10 million rupees program on homelessness. Moreover, if recognition will be used for members of NGOs at the time of retirement in recognition of their long and dedicated work in favor of the vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, sir, disabled people are also experiencing higher costs. We need to further help them to meet their everyday needs. Bedridden and severely disabled inmates of charitable institutions will also benefit from the monthly incontinence allowance of 1,500 rupees. To facilitate the lives of persons with hearing impairments, the frequency of the news bulletin in motion sign language will be increased to twice weekly, and 60 public offices will be trained in motion sign language to enable easier access to public services. Moreover, to facilitate access of the disabled to the beach, 40 floating beach wheelchairs and beach access mats will be acquired. Individuals suffering from a disability of less than 60% are not considered for the basic invalid's pension. This is unfair, and this government cannot remain indifferent to it. For those who suffer from a disability between 40 and 59%, we are introducing a monthly CSG disability allowance of 2,500 rupees. This monthly financial support for some 10,000 individuals will be over and above existing benefits under social aid. Mr. Speaker, sir, our elderly are those who have made the success of Mauritius. Today, what we have achieved as a nation, we owe it to them. We owe it to their devotion, their effort, their sacrifice, their passion for building this country. They deserve all our respect, our support, and our affection. 2 years ago, despite the economic downturn, we didn't flinch and we didn't hesitate to keep the basic retirement pension, basic widow's pension, and basic invalid pension at 9,000 rupees. Today, they are severely impacted by rising prices. We need to further support them. As from the 1st of July 2022, 300,000 pensioners will now earn higher benefits. Indeed, government is increasing all basic pensions by 1,000 rupees. The basic retirement pension, the basic widow's pension, and the basic invalid pension will increase from 9,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees, that is 11% more. We are also increasing the basic orphan's pension by 1,000 rupees. Moreover, beneficiaries of basic pension will henceforth benefit from the monthly child allowance of 1,700 rupees for dependent children up to 23 years attending university. We are extending the basic widow pension to Muslim widows through tardy registration of religious marriage before the Muslim Family Council. Monsieur le Président, plus nous avançons dans le grand âge, plus le coût de la vie devient élevé. Il y a 2 ans, nous avons enclenché la réforme de notre système de pension pour le rendre plus équitable et plus durable à travers la contribution sociale généralisée. Aujourd'hui, nos choix sont payants. Grâce à ça, nous sommes en effet en mesure de garantir un revenu exceptionnel de 1 000 roupies à tous les Mauriciens âgés de 65 ans et plus sous le CSG Retirement Benefit. Ainsi, toute personne ayant atteint l'âge de 65 ans percevra des bénéfices mensuels à hauteur de 11 000 roupies. Monsieur le Président, outre le soutien aux plus vulnérables, aux personnes handicapées et aux retraités, nous accordons également une attention particulière à celles et ceux qui, en temps normal, n'ont pourtant pas besoin de notre aide, car ils sont eux aussi actuellement touchés par l'augmentation du coût de la vie. Nous pouvons et nous devons alléger leur fardeau en ces temps difficiles. Ce gouvernement est résolu à soutenir le pouvoir d'achat des familles mauriciennes. C'est notre priorité. Monsieur le Président, nous les accompagnerons dans l'éducation et le bien-être de leurs enfants, dans les soins de santé à leurs familles et dans la préparation de leur avenir. Pour épauler les familles qui s'agrandissent, un baby bonus de 1 000 roupies sera versé aux parents de chaque nouveau-né à partir du 1er juillet 2022. En outre, les parents seront autorisés à prendre jusqu'à 10 jours de leur congé maladie afin de s'occuper de leurs enfants pour raisons de santé. Nous soutiendrons davantage les personnes à revenus moyens en augmentant les abattements fiscaux et en réduisant davantage l'impôt à payer par les particuliers. À cet effet, nous allons augmenter l'exonération fiscale maximale pour un enfant poursuivant des études supérieures de 225 000 roupies à 500 000 roupies. Augmenter la déduction maximale autorisée par les primes d'assurance médicale de 20 000 roupies à 25 000 roupies pour un individu et sa première personne à charge, et 15 000 roupies à 20 000 roupies pour chaque autre personne à charge. Augmenter l'exonération des dons faits à un organisme religieux agréé ou à une ONG caritative de 30 000 roupies à 50 000 roupies et augmenter l'exemption relative à un régime de retraite individuelle de 30 000 roupies à 50 000 roupies. Afin d'accroître le niveau de vie des personnes à revenus moyens, nous rendons notre régime d'impôt sur le revenu encore plus progressif et équitable. Pour les personnes percevant entre 25 000 roupies et 53 806 roupies par mois, soit 700 roupies annuellement, le taux de l'impôt sur le revenu sera de 10%. Pour ceux qui gagnent plus de 53 846 roupies et jusqu'à 75 000 roupies par mois, soit 975 000 annuellement, nous réduisons le taux de l'impôt sur le revenu de 15% à 12,5%. En faisant cela, quelques 100 000 personnes auront ainsi un revenu disponible plus élevé. La Petrol and Travelling Allowance sera augmentée de 10% jusqu'à un maximum de 2 000 roupies. Et l'exemption des indemnités de déplacement déductibles de l'impôt sur le revenu sera portée de 11 500 roupies actuellement à 20 000 roupies. Monsieur le Président, la cherté de la vie affecte non seulement les plus vulnérables, mais aussi les personnes à revenus intermédiaires. Ce gouvernement est conscient qu'ils ont en ce moment besoin d'une aide directe. Si la classe moyenne est généralement capable de subvenir à ses besoins, il est aujourd'hui incontestable qu'elle doit également recevoir un appui. Nous répondons à leurs appels. Est-ce la bonne chose à faire? La réponse ne peut être que oui. Personne, j'en suis convaincu, ne pense que nous devrions les laisser tomber. C'est pourquoi, Monsieur le Président, nous accordons une allocation mensuelle directe de 1 000 roupies à tous ceux dont le revenu brut ne dépasse pas 50 000 roupies. La CSG Income Allowance fournira en quelques semaines un revenu additionnel de 1 000 roupies chaque mois à chaque 350 000 salariés et indépendants enregistrés. En fournissant un apport financier annuel de 13 000 roupies à la grande majorité de la population active, nous veillons à ce que personne ne soit laissé pour compte. Telle est la stratégie, telle est notre philosophie, telle est la vision de notre Premier ministre. Avec le peuple, pour le peuple. Monsieur le Président, avant de conclure, je tiens à mettre en exergue le soutien indéfectible de l'honorable ministre, sans lequel ce budget n'aurait pas vu le jour. En outre, j'aimerais remercier mes collègues ministres et leurs officiers pour leur contribution à la préparation de ce budget. Je voudrais également exprimer ma gratitude à mon équipe, en particulier aux secrétaires financiers adjoints et aux officiers de mon ministère pour leurs engagements sans faille. Enfin, je tiens à exprimer ma reconnaissance aux parties prenantes qui ont partagé leur point de vue et à tous ceux qui ont contribué à la préparation de ce budget. Nous avons dûment tenu compte de leurs suggestions. Monsieur le Président, ce budget est pour notre population. 350 000 personnes percevront une allocation de revenus mensuels. 300 000 personnes verront leurs prestations de retraite augmenter. 189 000 jeunes recevront le passeport culture. 169 000 retraités auront droit au CSG Retirement Benefit. 110 000 ménages ne paieront plus la taxe municipale sur leur résidence. 100 000 contribuables auront un revenu disponible plus élevé. 18 000 ménages bénéficieront d'un soutien accru au titre de l'aide sociale et du SRM. 13 000 familles percevront le baby bonus. 10 000 personnes toucheront désormais la CSG Disability Allowance. Et 10 000 jeunes et femmes seront éligibles à la prime à l'emploi. Monsieur le Président, ne nous trompons pas. Les mesures dévoilées aujourd'hui ne sont certainement pas un coût. Elles constituent un investissement dans notre pays, un investissement dans notre avenir, un investissement dans notre population. Je vous remercie. I now commend the bill to the House.
Financial resolution.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of Standing Order 17.3, I move to take the time of the Assembly for urgent business.
The question is that the Honourable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development be allowed under Standing Order 17.3 to take the time of the House for urgent business. Those in favour say aye, those against say no.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, having obtained your permission, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Order 29.1 in order that I may present a financial resolution without notice.
The question is that Standing Order 29-1 be suspended so that the Honorable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development be allowed to present the financial resolution without notice. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. May proceed. And now proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that this Assembly resolves that with effect from 8 June 2022, excise duty shall, in respect of the excisable goods falling under their respective HS codes as specified in the schedule to this resolution, be levied at the corresponding those goods and excisable goods as specified in the schedule, and not at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods as specified in Part 1 of the first schedule to the Excise Act.
The question is that this Assembly resolves that, with effect from 8 June 2022, excise duty shall, in respect of this, the exercisable goods falling under their respective HS codes as specified in the schedule to this resolution, be levied at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and exercisable goods as specified in that schedule, and not at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods as specified in Part 1 of the first schedule to the Excise Act. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move for adjournment of the House to Monday, the 13th of June at 11 a.m.
The question is that the House be adjourned to Monday, 13th of June, 2022 at 11 a.m. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned.
À 240 roupies la bonbonne de gaz au lieu de 680 roupies. Pour cela, 2 milliards de roupies iront à la subvention du gaz ménager. Parmi les autres mesures à retenir, 8 000 fonctionnaires seront recrutés. Maintien du remboursement de 5% sur l'acquisition du premier bien immobilier. Les subventions pour l'agro-industrie portées à 75%, 3 milliards de roupies pour le secteur de l'agriculture, 1 milliard de roupies pour une meilleure fourniture d'eau dans le pays, nouvelle catégorisation des PME, plus de 8 000 fonctionnaires, je vous le disais, seront recrutés. Plus de 7 000 nouvelles maisons seront construites à travers le pays. Abolition de la taxe municipale pour les citadins. Concernant les taxes sur les revenus, 10% pour ceux qui perçoivent entre 25 à quelques 53 000 roupies, c'est-à-dire à peu près 700 000 roupies par an. Pour ceux qui touchent jusqu'à 975 000 roupies par an, l'impôt passe de 15 à 12,5%. Nous reviendrons dans les détails sur toutes les mesures dans le budget tout à l'heure dans le grand journal prévu pour 20h. Une édition en hindousta sera proposée aux alentours de 19h. Je rappelle également que vous allez pouvoir suivre dans quelques instants la déclaration, la première réaction du Premier ministre et celle du ministre des Finances. Nous serons en direct du Vagji Hall. Alors ce matin, avant la présentation de ce budget, le ministre des Finances était à son bureau pour les derniers préparatifs. Il y régnait bien évidemment une certaine ambiance avant l'heure H. Voyez ce reportage tourné cet après-midi avant la présentation du budget 2022-2023.
C'est le jour au ministère l'on s'affaire aux préparatifs. Le budget 2022-2023 sera présenté dans quelques heures. Les photographes de presse font les derniers réglages avant de rencontrer le grand argentier. Dans son bureau, c'est un va-et-vient incessant.
Et normalement, aujourd'hui, c'est un grand jour pour toute l'équipe. Et normalement, aujourd'hui, pour commencer à côté que les ministres présentent ce budget. Et moi, je me compte relaxé, je me compte l'appel qui est là.
L'appel là, qui la plupart du public peut demander.
Et je demandais qu'il y ait un budget pour passer.
Je me sens confiante parce que le ministre a bien travaillé et je suis sûre qu'il va faire un bon budget cet après-midi. Est-ce qu'on peut savoir justement en amont comment ça se passe une journée normale du budget, vous qui entourez le ministre? On est là, on attend. Il y a les officiers qui viennent le voir pour peaufiner les derniers trucs, mais rien ne va changer parce qu'on a déjà fait l'imprimer et tout. Mais sinon, on est solidaire avec lui. Et nous sommes très confiants que ça va bien se passer cet après-midi.
Le ministre a très bien travaillé pendant presque 2 mois et aujourd'hui c'est les jours J. Et là j'espère qu'il va être très encouragé pour présenter son budget. Et je dis all the best de ministre.
14h, nous sommes dans le bureau du ministre des Finances qui se fait prendre en photo par les photographes de presse avant de nous livrer ses impressions à 2 heures de la présentation du budget.
Calme et aussi concentré et serein. Donc, nous bien travaillons avec l'équipe concernant la préparation. Nous faisons vraiment dans tout ce qui est possible et imaginable. Nous avons beaucoup de contributions de tous les stakeholders. Et puis là, nous sommes prêts. Il y a une dernière retouche comme d'habitude. Mais là, nous sommes prêts pour la présentation du budget. Moi, je suis prêt pour dans 2 heures de temps.
Voilà, c'était le reportage tourné avant la présentation du budget 2022-2023, un document de 86 pages, une lecture d'environ 2 heures, un document intitulé « Avec le peuple pour le peuple ». Nous pour lui dans quelques instants retrouver Thierry Ramassourmi pour la déclaration en direct du ministre et celle des Finances. Première après la présentation de ce budget. Je vous rappelle les grandes lignes de ce document. Le ministre des Finances qui a parlé du gouvernement qui vient en aide directement aux familles vulnérables, aux pensionnaires, mais aussi à la classe moyenne. Il parle de mesures ciblées et, par exemple, il donne l'exemple du prix du pain maison qui reste inchangé. Pour cela, le gouvernement va subventionner le prix de la farine pour les boulangers, prix inchangé également à 240 roupies. La bonbonne de gaz, au lieu de 680 roupies, 2 milliards de roupies iront à la subvention du gaz ménager. Également à retenir, la pension qui augmente de 1000 roupies. 1000 roupies d'augmentation également pour tous ceux qui touchent jusqu'à 50 000 roupies. La taxe plutôt sur le revenu qui baisse pour ceux qui touchent jusqu'à 975 000 roupies par an. Elle passe de 15 à 12,5%. Je vous rappelle également que nous serons en direct aux alentours de 20h pour un grand journal avec les premières réactions ainsi que les grandes mesures qui seront détaillées par les journalistes ici même sur ce plateau. Aux alentours de 19h, vous pourrez suivre une édition en hindoustani, toujours sur ce budget 2022-2023. Thierry Ramassormi devrait nous rejoindre dans quelques instants à Port-Louis pour la déclaration du Premier ministre et celle du ministre des Finances. Je vous rappelle également que le budget prévoit le recrutement de 8000 fonctionnaires, 1 milliard de roupies pour une meilleure fourniture d'eau dans le pays, nouvelle catégorisation également des PME. Plus de 7000 nouvelles maisons seront construites à travers le pays et puis pas de taxes municipales pour les citadins. Alors, nous attendons toujours le direct de Port-Louis où le Premier ministre et le ministre des Finances devraient donner une première déclaration à la presse. Ce sera au Vagji Hall à Port-Louis. Dans quelques instants donc, le direct à Port-Louis. Peut-être nous pourrions voir quelques images de Port-Louis, si la régie pourrait nous envoyer quelques images de Port-Louis. Nous attendons la venue du Premier ministre et du ministre des Finances qui vont s'adresser à toute la presse. Première réaction après la présentation de ce budget 2022-2023 intitulé « Avec le peuple, pour le peuple », un document de 86 pages. Dans quelques instants maintenant, nous serons en direct avec Port-Louis.
It was just very important for me to clear things up.
Yes, I understand you. I want to offer you an apology for the way I reacted to you. Yeah, listen, because I was thinking about what happened. I made a mistake. The thing is, it hurts me that you stopped seeing me as your girlfriend. But you know, I don't want to lose you as a good friend either.
Hello!
Miss Marijo, what are you doing hiding there?
I'm escaping.
Why didn't you love me, Mommy?
I need to see Prudencia. Yes, because only she will be able to tell me where my daughter is now. She needs to know.
Je voulais vous demander de parler à Louis, de lui expliquer qu'il a été injuste avec ma sœur.
J'aimerais tellement pouvoir parler à mon fils. Il n'a même pas daigné venir me voir.
Lorena, ça ne te plaît pas que je vive chez Dolores?
Non, ça ne me dérange pas.